gave us figures on the numbers of people injured in the incident. 4 injured, and of those, including children. 20 patients at the scene were treated for minor injuries and they didn't need hospital treatment. 27 taken to hospital. 2 sustained serious injuries, that's including 1 child. They also told us that some people self-presented at hospitals and that the cyclist paramedic on the scene was struck by the vehicle, but thankfully didn't sustain any injuries. Let's cross now to Greg Milam, who's in Liverpool for us tonight. Greg.
Yes, thanks, Gillian. That update from the police and the ambulance service and the fire service giving us a much more full picture of what happened here a little earlier on. The scenes of crime tent is still in place on Water Street behind us. Our national correspondent Tom Parmenter is with me. And Tom, some detail, of course, on the injuries, and that was what we were focusing on most of all. And thankfully, I imagine we can say that no one has lost their life, but clearly a lot of people injured and some of them serious. Yeah,
and I think you could see from the sombre tone of that news conference just how shocked the emergency services are dealing with this, as well as everyone in this city, that this joyous moment with their football team had ended quite like this on a street just adjacent to the Strand here on the waterfront in Liverpool. And those details from that news conference, very distressing indeed, that a number of children are among those injured, 4 of them, and 2 people in hospital with serious injuries, including 1 child, 27 in total treated in hospital, and the fire service explaining their role in trying to lift that vehicle away from people beneath it. A very distressing scene that played out around 6 o'clock tonight at the end of this victory parade, the final lap of this season for Liverpool Football Club. And it is one that has ended in such distress and trauma for so many people, up to 1 million people on the streets in Liverpool. This 10-mile parade that took place through the course of the afternoon. It was right at the end of that parade when this dreadful incident unfolded, with that car driving at pedestrians. And the police were very quick to say that that 53-year-old man, who is the driver of the vehicle, is now in custody, that he is a white British man from Liverpool. That is what the police said a little earlier this evening. And we just had a statement from Sir Kenny Dalglish, one of the folklore heroes of Liverpool Football Club, who of course guided the club and was part of the club overcoming the Hillsborough disaster all those years ago in 1989. Sir Kenny Dalglish tonight has said that he is shocked, horrified and deeply saddened about what happened at the end of the parade today. Our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone and their families who've been impacted by today's tragic event. Our anthem has never felt more appropriate. You'll never walk alone. Your Liverpool family are behind you. A real sense of distress and shock as to how this day has ended for so many people, in the emergency services outlining some of the details of the many people injured in this incident. But as you say, from the update they have just given us, there are no fatalities from this at this stage, which is one small merciful fact of what we know so far.
And again, the focus on the investigation too, alongside the treatment and the support they say they're offering to those victims. As you say, they confirmed very early on some details about the person believed to be the driver. They repeated that in that news conference, and also sought to reassure the public about what they believe at this stage lay behind this.
Yeah, ruling out terrorism at this stage, which is something that they will have considered as part of the early stages of that investigation, given the scenario that played out on this road of a car driving into vehicles, which we've seen, of course, in many other, particularly European cities in recent months and years, as something that does happen. But the motivation is still not clear at this stage. Why was this vehicle doing what it did? Why was it being driven in that way? And what was the nature of the confrontation that followed between the crowd? Because this vehicle drove at the crowd, knocked pedestrians over, was surrounded by people on that street. It was full of Liverpool fans, this street, as they were making their way away from the end of this parade. They surrounded, a big number of the members of the public surrounded the vehicle. There was a confrontation with the driver, and then the vehicle again surged forward, hitting more people. And we know from the emergency services there that 27 people in total were treated in hospital, and 4 injured children in this instance. A dreadful thing to happen at the end of what should have been such a momentous day for Liverpool Football Club. But the thoughts of everyone connected to the club, within football, around this city, very much with the families of all those people injured on that street in this incident at the end of the parade at around 6 o'clock tonight.
And also praise, as we always hear, but I think particularly pointed tonight, praise for those members of the public who helped some of those injured, the people who've presented themselves at hospital having got away from here. This has had an impact, obviously, on those seriously injured, those in hospital, those being treated, but on everybody who witnessed this as well. And that we know that street was packed.
Yeah, dozens and dozens of people in that immediate vicinity who just didn't know what was happening in that moment. They saw this car careering forward, and many of them grabbed children that were with them to get them out of the way, to get them to a place of safety, and ran away from what was happening at the time when emergency responders were establishing that something was going badly wrong and dashing, sprinting in many cases towards the danger, that confrontation and that collision between the vehicle and all of those people who were in that street. The vast majority of them Liverpool fans, bedecked in club colours with flags and flares and everything that they've been dressed in to mark this moment with their team at the end of the Premier League season, in which they've secured the 20th league title that has made this club the most successful in the country. And this was the moment that they got to share that with not just the fans who were in the stadium yesterday for the final game, but for the wider city. And people had arrived from all over the country. Many would have flown in from overseas to join in with this parade, and up to 1 million people out on the streets of Liverpool lining this long parade route. And it had gone to plan up to that point. And we know that those emergency services crews were there within seconds. Many of them were here because of the planning for this kind of event, the scale of it. They know that things can and do happen, and they plan for those eventualities, and there are risk assessments done. But given the fact that it is in a city centre, there are so many people, and you can't take the risk out of that kind of event, and that has been shown in such graphic circumstances on Water Street behind us. And you can still see the forensics tents that is now covering what is a crime scene, with the vehicle still in situ, and no doubt forensics officers will come in to do their work probably first thing in the morning to try to understand what information they can gather from the vehicle and the road around it. But of course, so many people seeing this awful event unfold, they too will be giving information to the police, or have been asked to get in touch with the police with their account or their bit of video that they may have shot on their mobile phone. And we've seen a lot of that circulating, and it is very graphic and very disturbing. But that update from the emergency services in the last 10-15 minutes or so, I think, will offer some comfort, in as much as we know that it is not a terrorism incident. The man that was driving that vehicle is in police custody and is being questioned, and the awful scenario of having so many people caught up and injured in this event, it has touched so many families, and that'll be an incredibly difficult night for them, and many days ahead, no doubt.
Tom Fennell, thanks very much. As Tom said, that update from the police on the casualties, those caught up in this, but also the investigation as well. This is the story of how this incident unfolded from Sky's Ashen Hurinag, and a warning: this report does contain some distressing content.
This is the moment a car ploughs into a crowd in Liverpool city centre. From here, the video, which is too distressing to broadcast, shows dozens of people being knocked to the ground. As the car comes to a halt, it's swamped by the crowd. The driver, the focus of their anger. The back window is smashed and police struggle to hold them back. An earlier video, some 200 metres up the street, appears to show the car stuck amongst the throng before attempting to drive away. As revellers follow, it speeds up. After it came to a stop, those in shock ran from the scene into neighbouring bars and restaurants, and officers and paramedics swarmed the street.
It's knocked about 6 people over.
Oh my God.
Chelsea saw it all.
It was jam-packed. We were literally like sardines walking up the street, and then we heard all beeping and screaming, and when we looked up, there was a black people carrier driving straight towards us, and me and my friend Francesca jumped out the way and pulled her little girl out the way. And then as it must have been going about 30 miles an hour, and as it went past, we could see all the windows smashed in with loads of people chasing down the car. Then as we're walking up, there was police riot vans at the top of the road, and all the people banging on the police, like telling them they need to do something.
Just hours before, the city was brimming, with over 100,000 Liverpool fans partying on the streets, celebrating their team's Premier League title victory. It took minutes for the scene to descend into chaos. The open-top bus had only just passed by 20 minutes ago. The sound of cheers was soon filled with the sound of screams.
As it drove past us, we heard it hitting people.
Yeah, there was like a dozen people chasing it, wasn't
there?
Yeah,
there was, yeah.
And then, so I said to him, look, let's just keep going. And then as we started walking, we could hear the thuds as the car hit and people screaming and shouting, and you could just hear it all. And then
as we were walking forward, we could see all the people sat to the side that had been injured.
There was people getting helped by other people on the side of the road, and then we could see policemen running down the middle of the road.
They obviously didn't know what had happened, and it just happened in a flash.
That car missed us by
half a foot,
less than a foot. It just, and then it was
and that's
terrible.
what keeps messing. It's
Liverpool Football Club say their thoughts and prayers are with those who have been affected. A 53-year-old white British man is now in custody.
Extensive inquiries are ongoing to establish the circumstances leading up to the collision, and it is vital that people do not speculate or spread misinformation on social media. I know that people will understandably be concerned by what has happened tonight. What I can tell you is that we believe this to be an isolated incident, and we are not currently looking for anyone else in relation to it. The incident is not being treated as terrorism.
Merseyside police have asked people not to speculate, but many will be wondering how a moment of joy turned into a moment of horror. A celebratory parade the people of Liverpool thought they'd always remember, now marred by an incident they'll never forget.
This event, we have been working closely with event organisers, and a robust traffic management plan was put in place for the parade, which included a number of road closures throughout the route and the city centre. We will provide further updates as soon as we have them. I'll now hand over to my colleague Dave Kitchen from the North West Ambulance Service.
Thank you. Good evening, I'm Dave Kitchen, Head of Service for the Cheshire Merseyside area of NWAS. All of us at North West Ambulance Service are horrified and saddened that a day of celebration for the people of Liverpool could end in such terrible circumstances. Our thoughts are with everyone who witnessed the incident and those who have been injured. As large crowds were expected in the city centre today to celebrate Liverpool Football Club's victory, we thankfully had a substantial presence already in place close to the route, as we would do for any event of this type. Our ambulances, hazardous area response team, merit doctors, North West Air Ambulance colleagues and senior clinicians were very quickly on scene to offer aid and treatment. St John Ambulance also had clinical teams present to support us throughout the day and were quick to respond, and our thanks go to them for their assistance. Our emergency ambulances took patients to our NHS colleagues at the Royal Liverpool Hospital, Alderhay, Arrow Park and Aintree hospitals. Sadly, 4 of the injured were children who are enjoying the day with their friends and their families. We can confirm that our teams treated 20 patients at the scene for minor injuries, and these did not need hospital treatment. 27 patients in total were taken to hospital by ambulance, and we believe 2 of those, including one of the children, have sustained serious injuries. Our cyclist paramedic, who was on scene, was also unfortunately struck by the vehicle, but I'm pleased to report that no injuries were sustained. We also know that some patients have self-presented at local hospitals following the incident. We're working closely with our partners at Merseyside Police and share their appeal for calm. This is indeed an appalling incident, and we understand that people will be deeply upset. The people of Liverpool have shown many times before that you're a strong community and you support one another. All of us at North West Ambulance Service share with you the frustration that this wonderful day has ended like this. And we hope that those who have been injured make a speedy recovery. We'd also like to extend our thanks to Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service and Merseyside Police, both of whom assisted in the tendering to the injured in a very rapid sequence, as did many of the supporters in the city centre. As well as our NHS colleagues who will continue the treatment, everybody has played their part today. At this point, I'd just like to pass over to Nick Searle, the Chief Fire Officer. Thank you.
Good evening. Firstly, our thoughts are with everyone who's been affected by the incident this evening. Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service were informed at 18:07 hours. We immediately mobilised 3 fire engines to Water Street and were in attendance in 4 minutes. On arrival, the crews were met with numerous injured people and 4 persons trapped under a vehicle. Our crews rapidly lifted the vehicle, removed 3 adults and 1 child from beneath and passed them to our ambulance service colleagues. We then worked with emergency service partners to ensure casualties received medical treatment and transport to hospital as quickly as possible. My fire crews will maintain a visible and reassuring presence in the coming days and weeks. I'll now hand you over to Liam Robinson from Liverpool City Council.
Thank you. I'd like to start by saying, on behalf of everyone here in Liverpool, how much our thoughts and prayers are with those affected by this appalling incident in the city centre today. It's cast a very dark shadow over what had been a joyous day for the city and the finale to a fabulous bank holiday weekend. I'd particularly like to pay tribute to the emergency services who responded to help those who were hurt and to our NHS staff treating them in hospital. We are working very closely with Merseyside Police to support their investigation and with other relevant organisations to make sure those affected get the appropriate support. I would appeal for people, please do not share the horrifying footage of the incident on social media. Please, if you have any information, forward it to Merseyside Police to help them with their investigation. We won't be commenting any further, but we will provide relevant updates as and when we know more and it's appropriate to do so. Once again, our hearts go out to all of those affected. Liverpool is a city that has a proud history of coming together and supporting each other during challenging times. I've no doubt that will again be the case over the coming days and weeks. Thank you.